Thanks everyone for being here. My name is Eric Ellefson. I'm a senior fellow with the Center for the Advancement of Christian Education. And over the past few weeks, we've just been blessed with the opportunity to partner with Baylor University Center for Christian Education, Matt Thomas, their executive director, as well as John Eckert. And we've co-hosted and sponsored, just experts in the field of education, of law, of fundraising, just to share resources and to share expertise as we figure things out in our current situation. And in conversation with John Eckert and Matt Thomas in particular, one of the things that I was hearing a lot was, high school students are making the transition, middle school students are making the transition, and now that we're in this permanent situation of in a sense, remote learning or learning from home, what about elementary school students? Because this is much more difficult for elementary school students, parents, and teachers. And so I asked John to put together this webinar for us to share his expertise, as well as share the knowledge and expertise of some of our friends who are in this work. So John, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you roll with it.
Thanks, Eric. It's good to be with all of you. Eric, if you know Eric, is the ultimate connector, and that's the whole point of these exercises that the center at Baylor has been doing with Matt and with Case. We're just trying to come together with people who have some knowledge that's worth sharing. And right now, as we learn in real time, as the context changes from day to day and hour to hour, and we try to get a sense of what best thinking is, when we've heard all this bubbling up from elementary people, our initial thought was, who do we know that's doing good work, and how can we get that expertise out? And so I'm not going to talk very long at the beginning of this. I'll certainly offer some feedback and Q&A, but I have some experts here who are doing the work that you all are doing, and so I want to give them time. But I did want to set a little context for what we're going to do today. And so I wanted to take this quick tack from Adam Grant, who's an organizational psychologist at University of Pennsylvania, as we think about where we're at as Christians, as educators in a time that we're not familiar with. And so I just want to think a minute about arrogance versus humility. His equation is this: arrogance equals ignorance plus conviction. So this webinar is designed to decrease ignorance, hopefully increase conviction, but not pair them together. It's really hard to hold fast to any ideas right now because everything is quickly changing for families, for children, for teachers trying to manage families while also trying to teach. And so we want to try our best to avoid this kind of arrogance. And so he says this: humility is a filter, and we know this as followers of Christ. It converts evidence and experience into knowledge and wisdom. So we're getting a lot of experience right now. We don't necessarily have a lot of evidence yet, but we're going to try to bring as much of that to bear as we can so that we can convert that into knowledge and wisdom. Because in the end, arrogance is a rubber shield. New information just bounces off. So hopefully we're all coming into this. I think if there's anything that can humble educators, it's throwing them into a completely new world and telling them to just figure it out day in and day out. And so I think we're in a good place to learn, but that's just a reminder. And so this is a hopefully helpful chart that we want to be in this humility sweet spot. We avoid arrogance by having too much conviction and not enough knowledge. And we avoid insecurity by having enough confidence that our knowledge is good. So we're probably more in the insecure zone than the arrogant zone right now. But hopefully after this next hour, we'll be a little closer to that humility sweet spot where we maintain that humility, but it's grounded in some things that can actually work. So I just wanted to set us up for that. And this is not one more thing to add to you. We are going to try to simplify things. The schools, elementary, middle, and high school that I've seen being successful, and at Baylor, because I've had to convert all to online, and I've taught my first online classes this month. The key has been to simplify what we're doing. You can't keep doing everything. And teachers that have a perfectionist tendency will try to do that. And that includes being a great parent, managing all the expectations for students and parents, and you just can't. So in order to do that, we are going to have to say no to some things. And so I've been sharing this quote all year from David Brooks's new book. A life of commitment means saying 1,000 no's for the sake of a few precious yeses. this is more important than ever that we figure out what those precious yeses are right now. And so the experts that we have today are going to help us do that. Now, they have shared resources already. I put some in, they put some in, and we've put them into a Google workbook so that you can go back and track those. So I'm going to bring that workbook up for you right now just so you can see it, and then I'll introduce our experts. But as they're talking, you can be in the workbook checking it out. I won't share the screen a ton with it because I want them to be able to be seen and not the focus of the Google Doc, but all their materials there. So I'm going to pull that up for us right now so that you can see it. Let me do a new share here. And you'll see in this, hopefully you're seeing our the elementary distance learning piece that we have going. And that is right here. And on it, you'll see at the bottom, Eric, if you just want to let me know if everybody's seeing this, everything on my screen just shifted, but is it showing up okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So at the bottom, you'll see tools. So the tools tab has a bunch of tools that these experts and that I, in talking to a lot of people all across the country, have found that are pretty helpful. Then we have a second tab here that is the best ideas that they've come up with. They may not be digital tools. They may not be any kind of pedagogical tools. They're just ideas that they have, and they're going to talk through some of those, so I'm not going to go into detail there. And then they've highlighted on the third tab challenges that they're facing. And so in the left-hand column, in column A, they're going to list those out. And some of them even started to put improvement ideas, not necessarily solutions. Right now, we're just looking for improvements that might be helping with that. So if you have challenges, you can certainly put those in the Q&A. You can also put them in the Google Doc that you can link to from the link in the chat window, but you can certainly add some things in there and we'll try to address those. And then the last tab are just contacts for follow-up. So we have Twitter handles, email addresses, names. I have a website where I've been warehousing a lot of good things that we've been coming across. So I just wanted to orient you to what's there. And then I'm going to bring up another, bring us back to the slides to share who we have in the room with us so that you know the experts that you're dealing with here. So here are our experts for today. We have from Charlotte Christian Academy in Charlotte, North Carolina, Brandon Henderson. He's assistant head of lower school there. From Grace Community School in Tyler, Texas, we have Jennifer Dozier. I noticed at the time I put humble experts. They would not like to be described as experts, I don't think, but their humility in being in that humble sweet spot is perfect, and in that regard is absolutely expert. From Prestonwood Christian Academy, we have Barbara Brown, who's over the all the technology there. I hope she'll be joining us. I had not seen her before we started, so hopefully she's going to be able to make it with us. And then from the Woodlands Christian Academy outside of Houston, we have Patty Bruja, who's also the lower school head there. So they are our experts. I'm going to turn it over to them. We're going to go in this order. I've told them they have 5 to 7 minutes to share some of the things that are working really well and some of their challenges. We'll take some time if you want to ask some questions after each person, but then at the end we'll address Q&A for the remainder of our time. So without any more ado, I will bring up our panelists. So Brandon, it's all yours.
All right, thanks, John. Good to see all you digitally. Excited to share some of the stuff we're doing here at Charlotte Christian School and give you guys some insight. We definitely are coming at this from a humble perspective, because when you have just a few days to throw something together, it's I feel like we're just now kind of coming up for air to look around and see what's going on around us and what others are doing and trying to tweak and refine. But let me walk you through a few things that we've started using in our school, and then jump into our challenges. So one of the first things that I would say that we've had success with at our school is the overall setup of being asynchronous with live touch points throughout the week. Our middle and our upper school use Canvas. And so they're actually live. Students are working through their schedule every single day. They're digitally going to classes for their allotted time. And so it was important for us as a lower school to give some flexibility to our families, especially our working families who are, all kinds of different schedules going on there. So for us, that's resulted in us posting videos and lessons daily for students to access that they can work through when they have the time and the space to do that. That's also helped with device sharing, which has been an issue for some of our families as well. So we have folded into that live touch points. So we started when everything was going on with Zoom, and as it was hitting the news, we launched kind of live touch points with our teachers and students through Google Meet. And then we are now in possession of educator licenses for Zoom. So we're going to be starting to move that direction. We're seeing some better features in terms of controlling the chat, which is helpful in an elementary setting from Zoom. It's a little more difficult sometimes with Google Meet. So I would say that's kind of been one of the first areas we've had success, is just the, again, asynchronous model with live touch points throughout the week for students to connect with their teacher and their classmates. Second thing has been kind of our big obstacle was how do we daily get content to the kids and announcements and information and all that. And so what we've done is we use HyperDocs essentially. So we're already using those for weekly announcements for our teachers, and we converted those over for our online school. If you want to a visual aid as I'm talking this through, in the document that was shared at the start of this, there's a link next to HyperDocs. I've changed names, but just dropped an image there that you should be able to pull up and access to be able to see. Perfect. Thank you so much. So we have one of these going for each classroom teacher. So students can bookmark this page and open it every single morning. We also send the parents the link every day, so some access it through email. But this is updated daily, excuse me, for our students. So first section we always have for announcements. We're trying to, again, streamline communication. There's so many ways to get info to people. And so we're trying to bring it all to one place. And they branch out from here, but this is at least a starting point. So this is a place for us to do school communication if we need to, go into the lower school when we post chapel videos. Any all school stuff falls in that daily announcements section. Teachers have also posted each morning, they have kind of a welcome message for their students when they go there. So they're daily posting a good morning video with kind of an overview of the day, what's to come, any important info that they need. From there, the parents and the students can navigate to the online learning resources. These are the subjects that we elected to focus on. So we went to Bible, math, reading, writing. Reading includes phonics as well for our younger grades. And then Words Their Way, which is our word study program. So from there, each of those links sends them to another document where teachers daily post a video for each subject, and then the assignments and tasks that are required of the students as they go from there. We divvied up, this has been a lifesaver, but as far as our third grade and below, we took our teams of teachers and divvied up the responsibilities by subject. So we have one third grade teacher doing writing and Bible, one doing math, one doing reading and Bible. So by sharing the load there, that's made this much more manageable. And actually in a neat way, it's been great for our kids to get access to their other teachers. Finally, we use this as the launching page for their live sessions down here. So we will post links either to Zoom or to Google Meet, and daily it's updated with which kids they want to meet with. Again, names have all been changed on this, but we can have access for the kids to jump on to the chats at specific set times. And we also give them an idea of, are we meeting for Words Their Way or a book club? Or what we've asked of our teachers is that you'd have 2 academic touch points with students throughout the week, as well as 1 community building one. So a time for just share prayer requests, or show and tell at your home, or introduce us to a family member, where teachers are coming up with all kinds of fun ideas. But we just heard from our parents in a survey that we sent out how much kids are not only missing the touch point with the teacher academically, but just socially. These kids are being socially starved at the moment, and so they are eager to connect with classmates. So we wanted to at least have 1 space a week where they could have a time for that with their peers. Finally, at the bottom, you'll see enrichment information. This is where we have our enrichment teachers. These are our specials. So your science and your technology and art, all those things. They on Monday have been posting every single day lessons for each grade level. So students, for our families who are stressed, we've been making this very optional, but for our families who are looking to fill up a day, and it's crazy how much you have both. We are providing this material, and students, like they would kind of throughout a week, pick a day that they focus on. They are able to kind of work through this at their pace and at their, depending on what they have free time for. We just decided as a school to move towards being 4 days a week will be core content. And then the 5th day, we're going to have on Fridays now, the enrichment teachers will post this as sort of a specials day. That'll also allow our teachers time to reach out and set up small groups or one-on-one sessions if they need to, give kids a chance to breathe and catch up on work, and give teachers a chance to respond to material that's coming into them through Seesaw or Google Classroom. So this has been our launching pad for everything. And it's been a really helpful tool for us. I'd say I'll be quick here on the third point that's been helpful is, I think, just giving teachers permission to start to really critically look at what are the essentials between now and the end of the year. We out the gate, we're very eager to make this experience as much like a classroom as we could. And I think we're pretty close to burnout in the first 3 or 4 days. And so we had to have some good conversations about, okay, give yourself space to breathe. Let's focus on the essentials. And so those conversations are ongoing as we figure out how long this is going to last and what that looks like. But those conversations have been really important for our teachers to hear as well as they make decisions about what we keep, what we focus on, and then documenting that so we're ready going into next year about what are things we dropped off and where do we need to pick up going into the following year. And I'll close with I think our biggest struggle right now is just how do we differentiate in a way that does hit the high flyers who are cruising through this. I think in this environment, the kids who are great in the classroom are great in this, and the kids who struggle in the classroom are struggling even more in this. And so that's been a challenge for us to make those small group sessions effective, especially when you have squirrely kids and you have different levels of parent monitoring while kids are on these live chats as well. So sometimes the quality is hit or miss depending on the situation and the group dynamics. So that's kind of our biggest challenge we're facing.
Thank you, Brandon. And if there are, I don't see any questions popping in the Q&A. Eric, let us know if there's anything there. I did, before we pass it over to Jennifer, I did want to say Barbara Brown did make it on. If you're seeing your screen, it says she's John Eckert. This is a better looking version of me, but that is actually Barbara. I had to send her my link to get her in. So glad Barbara could make it. But I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Jennifer, unless there's any burning question immediately for Brandon and the HyperDocs particularly, or anything from anyone in the group. I'll just give it a few seconds, and then if there's nobody, we'll move right on to Jennifer. Okay, we'll go with Jennifer then, and feel free to continue to populate questions or go to the Google Doc and see if you have comments or questions, add them there too. So Jennifer's from Grace Community in Tyler.
Yeah, thanks, John. A lot of what we're doing is pretty similar to Brandon. When this whole thing hit, I read and listened to all kinds of things and thought, we're going to make this be as much like the classroom as we possibly can. And we realized that everybody who was telling us all those things on podcasts hadn't lived it yet. So we were burned out pretty quickly as well, and began to say, let's curate our curriculum. Let's be sure what are the essentials for our kids. Really right away as our brains were going, we stopped and said, let's just focus for a second. What does love require of us? Love requires of us that we present the best we possibly can, hold loosely, but that we believe all things, hope all things, bear all things, and we will persevere. And we thought, what is overarching? What do we want our kids and our parents to experience through this? That we want them to experience that we love them well, and that we extended grace, because they're extending us a lot of grace right now too. So we just keep focusing back on that as well as we're going through this and making changes. One of the things that we did do from the very beginning was say, let's keep it simple for our parents. We went primarily asynchronous as well. I would say our teachers are the experts. The creativity that they have brought to this, the collegiality, the collaboration that they've done, because we've done very similarly where everything we're doing is a grade level Google Doc, Google folder that we share with our parents on Sunday the night before. And it's got the whole week in there, but each day is its own set of Google slides with links for everything they need as it comes up. And we structure their day where there's a morning greeting from their individual teacher. Then they go into a Bible time, and it's kind of, their videos are short. If they go any length of time, they're more like Blue's Clues videos where the teacher asks a question and then waits to see, oh, I heard boys and girls say this back, and up moving and dancing and singing, and put brain breaks in there and different things throughout their day, but kept it really, really simple for parents to follow, for them to be able to do that. They're recording their videos, and then, like Brandon said, any third grader, they could be watching their teacher or one of the other 2 third grade teachers, or first or second. Any of those are littles, all the way through really our 5th grade. They're all sharing the content like that. We did do packet pickup for children the very first week. We did it all of our junior K through 5th grade, but 3rd through 5th grade pretty much got all of their stuff in that first time. And the junior kinders through 2nd, we're giving them 2 weeks at a time, and they're getting manipulatives, all the things that they need to do the centers crafts, everything for those littles, so they can keep doing the fine motor things that would have been developing in the regular classroom as well. All those things really paperclip together. This, Mom and Dad, this is everything you need for Monday. This is everything you need for Tuesday, all the way through for 10 days, really to come alongside our moms and dads. We are holding things loosely and extending grace to parents. One of the things we found out right away was it was going to help our parents if we highlighted in green, or a color, and we chose green, anything highlighted in green we want sent back to the teacher. Anything else, if you want to, that's fine, but we're going to really take a close look and do assessments on the things that you submit that are highlighted in green. So that made our teachers really hone in on, what do I absolutely need to see back from my parents, and what are the essentials? So it kind of goes to what Brandon said, and that helped our parents know too for that. We did tell our parents, send it to us anytime, but by Friday's great. So we didn't hold fast to any strong deadlines with Mom and Dad. We've been super intentional to keep up recording read-alouds where the teacher is reading aloud to the children. I'm reading aloud a lot and recording those. Sometimes that gives Mom and Dad a break for a little one to go listen to somebody read to them while they're helping another child. So we've gotten positive feedback about that. We did just start this week dividing our kids into smaller Google Meets so that they can have some academic assessments that way. Boys and girls are reading in small group, doing book discussions and that kind of stuff. And we added those in this week. We have had some parents that are also FaceTiming with the teacher to get some additional help. We are continuing to do our dyslexia therapy with our students with the teletherapy, and that's been a positive thing for our kiddos. So really just trying to do what is the best for Mom and Dad. Really, I think I put it in one of my challenges. It's been a challenge to decide where to push and where to extend grace and how to love well in that. And that's been different because everybody's home situations are different. But so some of the things, like I said, doing it well was a lot of keeping it simple. I think that the touch points, I sit in on almost all of the Google Live Meets that are just for social. Either I do, my or assistant principal does, and this week we added our enrichment teachers into that mix. So when they're just meeting for social, and we've actually gone to 2 so that more kids have time just to talk, my enrichment teachers are in there as well because they're missing their PE teacher and their music teacher and those folks as well. The way we set that up is our enrichment teachers drop into those Google folders for each grade level. On Monday, our librarian puts something in. On Tuesday, our art teacher puts something in. On Wednesday, our music teacher. Thursday, our Spanish teacher. Friday, our computer technology teacher. And then every day, our PE teacher puts something in. And we've tried to have like one day I was the guest PE teacher and I popped on their screen and was doing PE with them. So fun things like that for our kiddos that we've gotten positive feedback about. A challenge we've had is, again, that push, when to push and when to extend grace. And then we're in the process now of thinking through, how do we do the hallmark things that are the highlights for their grade levels? How do we let them have those experiences? So next week, we have 4th and 5th graders coming up for 3 nights in the appropriate group sizes to have a parking lot spring concert from our cars. And we're doing video parts of a graduation. And then I'm doing, if we get to this point, we don't know what the governor of Texas is going to do, but I know what my head of school is going to do. The minute we can go back to school, we're going back to school, which is good. But if we don't get to, we're planning like, okay, if you can drive by and get French fries, you're going to drive by and get your diploma from me. And we're going to have a stand-up backdrop set up and let kiddos come up and take their kindergarten graduation picture and things like that. Just those memory builders that we want our kids to be able to experience have been really important to us to figure those out for our families. So that's kind of where we are and what we've learned so far. But I would say our teachers are the heroes here. They are knocking it out of the park and being so creative. It's actually fun. I watch their videos from Friday afternoon until they go live on Sunday. And I've observed more teachers in these 3 weeks than I get to watching all their stuff. It's really been a blessing. Good stuff. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. I'm seeing questions pop up in the chat window and in the Q&A, so I've been told the panelists as they have a chance to answer them, they're fine. These are big, meaty questions, so we're going to save them toward the end if they don't address them just typing in. We've got equity issues with access to computers and then differentiation, how that's being done. So you heard a little of the differentiation, I think, in the way Brandon and Jennifer talked about it, but we can follow up more there. But I do see Barbara Brown is now officially Barbara Brown, so we will go to Barbara from Prestonwood. So looking forward to hearing from you. Go ahead, Barbara.
Thank you, John. It's just been fast and furious, I know, for everyone. So when I saw a link in your email, I just assumed that was to the meeting. So I apologize for that. The first thing that I want to start with, something that John said last week, I took back to PCA because I think it's what we really have to be thinking about every day. And John said the best marketing that you can do right now is to take care of the people that you have right now. Take care of your families. This will be your story. This will be what will be shared about your school. And so we always go back to that because this is a difficult time. And we want to be remembered at this time of really serving our families and serving our children. So on to technology, because I guess that is my role. And those of you that know me well know that I'll always go to how do we best serve our kids and show love to one another. One thing that how we've been using technology, we've been using Zoom. There's been a lot of conversation about that, but we think that 2 to 3 times a week to make sure that the kids get to see each other and see their teacher. And it can just be for a simple overview, but just that checking in. And then we've been using our LMS, which is Canvas, and then Seesaw for those real little ones like pre-K first. But really to do short videos, to chunk content and have it in one place where kids really know where to go. And then it's there that they can go and watch it several times if they need to for the instructional piece. What we found is that a differentiation is something that we can do well with Zoom. There can be small groups that work together with a teacher. There can be one-on-one tutoring. We've been utilizing our teacher aides to actually spend maybe a couple of hours, an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon with those kiddos that struggle to just really to be there for them. So that's really some good uses of the technology. One thing I think that we have to do, and Jennifer talked about this, but we have to recognize that learning is not the same and that it looks different. We know from research that this type of learning is much harder for the lower school, the younger kiddos, than it is for your high school kids or your middle school kids. So we just have to recognize that. And I think a real important piece is that personal touch. It's easy to send a lot of emails, but we don't want to do that. Parents can be overwhelmed. You know, maybe an email at the beginning of the week that just kind of provides some real good guidance. But then there's nothing that replaces that personal phone call class. So just really reaching out, and especially for any child that you're not hearing from or a family, just, you know, even have the counselor reach out to the family. Another thing that I had is I did put a link in there. I worked in Louisville ISD for over 30 years. And so I looked at, and it was under, I believe it's under, yes, it's under I think it's under tools, at-home learning activities. And the reason I put those links there is they have some really good examples. You know, we don't want kids to be doing worksheets and those kinds of things, but what can they be designing and creating and putting together presentations and really, you know, doing experiments and capturing that for assessment rather than answering multiple choice questions. That's really all at that higher level of Bloom's. And then the technology really becomes seamless. And it's not about using the technology, but it's really all about the learning. So there's some great examples there of some excellent work. And on that page, where that information is, there's also like 2 or 3 pages within that box, and then there's a lot of links at the top. But that's all there under, right, that's perfect. So at-home learning activities, light camera action. You'll see, yes, going down just a little, and you'll see that that's like slide 1 of slide 3. And up here at the top, there's digital breakout devices, Apple Suite, but anything that they would even want to know about using all of those tools. It's absolutely amazing what they've done. So I just wanted to share that. If you look, yes. Okay. And really the whole idea there is just about being at the higher level of Bloom, so students are creating. Any questions?
Those are great resources, and Barbara is a great resource for tools, but she has a heart for kids. The tools are just the tools to help serve kids, which is what you want from people that understand technology and how to bring that together. So thank you for sharing that, Barbara. Again, if anybody's having trouble getting on the Google Doc, let us know. I think Eric maybe emailed out the link, but it's up in the chat window. But if you need that link, feel free to go there. That'll be the artifact of this so that you can go back and pick up on anything that you wanted to know more about. But we've got Patty Bruja. She's batting cleanup for us from the Woodlands Christian. And so I'll turn it over to Patty.
Thank you, John. So I think, you know, it sounds like we're all coming from the same place. We're doing very similar things. And I do believe our independent schools have a tremendous advantage because we were able to have a lot of, you know, the kids had access to the internet. They had access to one-on-one technology. So it has been very smooth for us. One of the blessings is that we are an Apple Distinguished School, and so our children were using all these platforms already. It was part of our vision and our growth in our school that we were going to. Our 4th grade is currently not using paper at all. They're using Schoolworks. They're using Zoom. There's no paper at all in our 4th grade. So it was very seamless, the move to this. If we had not had technology issues, it would have been even better. But of course, we all had bumps in the road. But that was a huge advantage for us, that our children and our parents were used to seeing these things. And this is the way we're going in the future. So I try to help my teachers understand we're not wasting time here, because this will be a tremendous benefit for us going forward when children may be out with the flu for a couple of weeks, or if there's reason, we have hurricanes here. We'll have these tools, they'll be used to using these, and this is how we'll fill in for school, I see, in the future. So it's definitely not wasted time. One thing that we did that has been hugely beneficial for us is we created a website just for lower school. And so parents and children can log on to this one place and everything is there. And I can send that link to y'all if you want to see. It's well done. And so on this website, there's a message from me. There's a message from my assistant principal. And then we put things like a welcome video. The teachers did little dances. We did various announcements and such are there. But right under that is every grade level is listed there. So if a parent logs into this website and has a first grader and a fourth grader, they're where they need to be. They don't have to go anywhere else. They click on first grade. All the assignments are listed right there. Then they can jump over to fourth grade if needed. Why is my picture coming up, John? Are you going to my website? I can't hear you. Go on. I can't hear you. Still can't hear you. John, we cannot hear you. John?
Yes, we are on your website. I was just showing,
Yes.
Was that the right site for you?
Yeah, well, if you go to our school website and then click on distance learning, then it'll show the website of the lower school underneath that. Yes. So anyway, so you know, John can pull that up. That's great. But this, so go to distance learning, John, and then go to academics. And then go down, distance learning. I'm sorry, yeah, right here. Go into the lower school. So this is our school website, but then we have our own page. So here's our lower school distance learning. So it has some things here. If you keep tabbing down, then it's a message from me, my assistant principal. And then here is our, we have morning, just like we do when we come to school, we all get together, we sing, we have morning announcements. Each one of those is listed there. And then if you go down further is our link to our classes. It includes all of our classes, including chapel, library, and specials. And then if you go on down, it has the parent resources. Now, if you want to click into our, if you go back up, John, to one of our grade levels, let's look at second grade maybe, then you can see a little bit of how they work this. For some reason, there's their daily schedule. There's their weekly news. Everything is right there. There's the morning message from the teacher. And there's the URL for their Zoom meetings with the class time for when they go in there and meet. And then when you tab down a little further, you can see all the different activities for each day. It's all a one-stop shopping, basically, and it has been very well received. And so it just like I said, everything is right there for the whole grade, and there's something for each grade level. And so our teachers have very similar things that y'all are doing at the other schools, where we're doing meetings via Seesaw, via Zoom. We also are using a platform called, let me get this, Schoolworks. I never can remember that, in fourth grade. Schoolworks has been fabulous because the kids will be doing their work. The teachers can see their work at that time, even on distance learning, and they can correct and edit and give those children feedback real time as it's working. But this Schoolworks only works on Apple app, so with an iPad, so it's restrictive a little bit. But anyway, so having this one site to go to has been very, very beneficial. What we wanted to convey to our parents is that we wanted to make sure there was a good learning environment for our students, because we know learning cannot occur if there's stress, if there is yelling, if there's things going on in the home. Children are not going to learn. So we have educated our parents. It is not going to be like school, and that's okay. Our key focus is on flexibility. So if you cannot get the lessons done in the day that is assigned, that is okay. Kids are resilient and they will catch them up. We are looking at putting a program in place this summer, an academic program for each grade level that will not be mandatory, but it'll be available to our students to catch them up and prepare them for next year if the parents feel like they have lost some ground. So parents have been pleased with that. But flexibility has been the key for our families with little children. And the younger we go down in age, the more flexible we have to be, because these little ones require so much. So we have to be realistic and know that the parents cannot do all this that we're expecting them to do in the time frame. So what we did is, after we launched this, after 1 week, we sent out a survey to our parents. And on the survey, we had things like, tell us, rate your child's stress level, 1 to 5, and then rate your stress level. And the parent's stress level was so much higher than the student's stress level. So we took that and reevaluated what we were doing and changed up some things to make it less stressful for our parents. And so these surveys, I recommend that you definitely do at least one survey and then utilize that information to change things up. We have also utilized our team teachers. We're blessed to have some team teachers. They do the one-on-one with kids in addition to our teachers, but they're also available for any of our children that are struggling. So we set up times, and parents have loved that. And so the team teachers work one-on-one with these children, and that has been very beneficial for some of our children that are struggling. We also have a program for our dyslexic and dysgraphic and ADHD children. That is going forth right along like it was, just like we left school. They're continuing their therapy online, and that has been going well as well. We incorporated a lot of things to try to help the morale of our teachers. That is an area that I think we overlook sometimes, and our teachers a lot of them have young children that teach lower school. So we have to be cognizant of their time as well. So we are going to a 4-day week starting next week, with Friday being similar to what Brandon was saying. It's going to be our fine arts day. And that day will strictly fine arts, where the kids can log on and visit with their art teacher. They can Zoom with their Spanish teacher, and their librarian is included. Library is included in that. And it gives our teachers that extra time on that day to plan. And so teachers were very pleased with that. And I think parents will be as well. It won't be a structured day. But there is structure there if they want it. They can go on there, and there's plenty for them to do. We continue to do our core classes Monday through Thursday, which also includes our STEM class and our science lab, which are optional. And so that fills in some of the time for the parents that want to see their children, their day filled up. But we encourage our parents to really look for ways for the kids that can learn outside of the textbook, ways that they can learn being outside, looking at different leaves, going on walks, various things in nature, not specifically from the textbook. And that has been very well received as well. A lot of our teachers do morning meetings where the kids get together, and it's a social hour or 30 minutes or whatever, and they talk about, they pray for each other, they talk about what they've done over the weekend, and it's very relaxed time. We do have videos recorded that are structured, but we don't make those set at a set time, because we want to allow these parents to be able to sit with their children at the time that's best for their family and not have to do it at a certain time. The Zoom calls that are live are optional. We don't expect the children to be there, and it's okay if they can't. One of the issues that I'll tell you that we're really facing is, how do we assess these children and keep them accountable? Out of all of our students, I would say probably we have a handful, maybe 5, that are not doing the work that they need to be doing and the expectations of what we expected when they left. What we're telling them is, we're certainly not telling them that it's not going to count. But we are not going to take a student. We're basically going to look at the first 3 quads of where that child ended. And then we're going to assess if they're continuing to meet that standard that they were at that time, and not penalize them. But those that are not participating and those that are not turning in the work, they will then receive a call and a conference with their parents, with them, with the teacher immediately. And then if that work's not turned in again, there's another call, and we set up another conference. And then we're going to, they're going to understand that if these expectations are not met, there'll be some consequences as far as summer work goes to get them to meet the expectations of where we expect them to be going forward in the fall. But that's our biggest issue is assessing these children. But we're leaning towards standard-based grading, and we're already there through second grade, and we want to move it up to fourth grade. So really, we feel like this is a blessing in disguise, because what we're doing here is not looking at grades, right? We want to know these children are learning, are making progress. And we're hoping the parents can see this, and it's taken away their focus from looking for that A, that B. They're not concerned with that right now. They're concerned that their child's sitting there and he's reading at the level he's supposed to be reading at. And that's been a beautiful thing. So we've taken that focus off of grades. So that's why we're not going to put it in our third and fourth grade. We're going to leave it off, and it's still going to be an expectation that they do the work, but we're not going to grade them a letter grade. It's going to be more meets requirements or meets standards. And so other than that, that is our biggest issue as far as that goes. John had asked us to reflect a little bit on 4 and 5-year-olds. So again, the bottom line with that is flexibility. I have been on the Zoom calls. We've tried to do Zoom calls with pre-K, and it is impossible. And they are all over the place. And so I've told my teachers, we need to back off of trying to do that in big groups. Yes, it's great for them to see each other. But if we're going to expect any kind of learning or socialization going on, it needs to be in groups no more than 2 or 3 at a time. So we're going to do less time with them at one time, but in smaller groups to try to get their attention, to try to be able to exchange names. That's all we're looking for with this pre-K. We do have assignments up there. There's no expectations for when they're due. Again, this requires 100% of the parents' participation to be able to do this. So we have to help them understand children are resilient. They will catch up. They're 4 and 5 years old, and we will get them there. If they feel like they're falling behind, we'll have some things this summer to help them. We will do what's necessary going into next year to get them where they need to be, but they're 4 and 5. And to try to expect that they can do anything near what the others are doing is really unrealistic. And so what we wanted is to have them socialize. And we want them to learn through things, through play. We do have things available for them, and they're there and they can do it if they want to. But again, it relies heavily on those parents. And so with the parent, we have a lot of professionals, and it's very difficult. So we haven't gotten any pushback from our young ones about our parents about not having a lot of online learning going on, because they understand what it takes to enable that to happen.
So thank you, Patty. That's great. And I had gotten a question in early about how to address the 4 and 5-year-olds from a teacher that's trying to figure out how to explain to an administrator what is and is not possible. I just want to point out that Patty, that you're dealing with administrators on this call. So maybe it's have your administrator on whatever engagement you're having with the 4 and 5-year-olds so they can see some of the challenges that are there. There were 4 questions I've seen bubble up in the Q&A and in the chat window, and actually another one just came in. So I'm going to put them all out there. I'm going to ask panelists, because we've got about 5 to 8 minutes left that I want to leave for answering questions. I'm going to give Matt Thomas a chance to wrap us up at the end, but I'm going to throw these questions out here and see how many of them we can knock off. So maybe just one person take a question instead of all 4 of them trying to answer. But the questions I've seen, one of them, I think Patty addressed a little bit. How do you take an Apple distinguished school and push it down into kindergarten and pre-K? What does that look like? It sounds like there's a lot of flexibility on what that can and can't look like, but feel free to add to that if you want to, Patty. How are you differentiating? How are you addressing access when students don't have access to a computer? Everything that I've heard pretty much has been a digital interface of some kind. And then this is an interesting question from Stephen Levy. How much do you think we should be trying to replicate what we usually do on an online platform, and how much should we be thinking very differently about what kids could be doing at this time? So kind of traditional online versus where we're at right now. And then there's a question here about just a technical one. Did you have to refund tuition for preschool? So let's take a little bit longer on pre-K. If there's anything else to add there, then we'll hit differentiation, access, and then how this is different than online. So I don't know who wants to jump in, but feel free to go.
Well, I'll address that first question of the Apple as an Apple distinguished school. So, our kids have one-on-one. But the expectations for pre-K, of course, you know, there's very little, but we did send an iPad home with every child. Every child had an iPad going, including the pre-K. And so we, you know, but as far as the being able to do a whole lot on there, they're not able to do it, but they are able to use those in case they didn't have that access at home. They had it, you know, with the iPad that we sent them. Kindergarten has been using the iPads. They're able to get on. They have classes. They have live Zoom classes, just like all the other grades. The only exception would be the pre-Kers, where really it's very little that we can expect from them. But K through 4th, K is doing just as much and doing it just as well as our older kids because they have been trained in it all year long. So that's been helpful.
Good. Somebody want to tackle the differentiation question?
One of the things we talked about today, I visited with the teacher, and she's talked on the phone to some of her kiddos that were struggling a little bit and helped them, you know, just one-on-one on a FaceTime call, but also said, honey, you can stop the video. We could talk, and then you could go back to the video. So really helping her do that. A couple of different, letting kids give the answers in different ways has been one of the, you know, like, you know, this is easier for you just to do it orally with me. Tell me what time to call you, and we can go through it that way. So teachers are really trying to meet kids where they are. Thinking about one of the other things, John, I was visiting with a junior K teacher, one of my 4-year-old's teachers earlier, and she said, I'm out in my yard right now because I'm looking for patterns in nature because we're doing a patterns thing. And so my assignment for my kids is going to be, with mommy and daddy, walk around your yard and look for things like this that show God is our creator, you know, patterns in nature and that kind of thing. So it was very different than doing A, B patterns with blocks in the classroom. So
Good.
Our
Good
teachers
point.
utilize that same kind of thing, even on the Zoom calls.
right.
So, okay, ready? Somebody go find something in your house that looks the shape of a circle, and the kids love that.
And come back. And that was another thing I was thinking, those little kids Zoom calls too, that they're doing themes or scavenger hunts or things like that during it, rather than little kids sitting during a Zoom call. That's not going to happen anyway.
Yeah, good acknowledgement. Anybody with the access issue that you have students without access to computer or Wi-Fi or can't get into the digital piece? Anybody dealing with that?
We did. Patty mentioned this too. We just opened up all of our Chromebook carts and lent those out, let our parents check those out. And our IT put some portable hotspots right on the front porch of our school. And if somebody needed to, they could come in and be in our parking lot and access internet that way. We have had a few takers, not very many, but we set up, our IT department set up a help ticket thing for families to contact them. And early on, they were calling, giving specific, here's how you could do this. We took one family that didn't have internet access, and we put all the videos for the week on a flash drive for each child and took those to they met us in town and watched the videos that way. So that was helpful. They didn't have to access the lessons digitally that way.
Good.
Yeah.
Brandon, go ahead, Brandon.
We did the same thing. It was a survey that went out early on about access to try to figure out what our families were dealing with and what was coming up. And then we opened up some devices to share with families, especially some with lack of devices and some with way too many kids. So we had to share some devices there too with those larger families. And then one thing, going back to the differentiation question, I think what we're working with teachers right now is the same issue, because we're trying to make sure, like you mentioned, Patty, we want these live sessions to be optional, and we're trying to be equitable in that not every kid's going to be able to get on for a live chat. So we don't want to be running ahead in curriculum or content with the kids who are lucky enough to be able to be free at that time and have the devices. And so we've really structured it to be, this is a either facilitating discussions with your students, you are letting them share work that they're doing with one another, or you are doing a review. Within the review of content, you can take it deeper, but it's always going over previously taught material as opposed to moving forward with anything new. So that's just been kind of some of our guidelines as we've structured these live sessions.
So 2 quick things. I want to have Barbara answer this last question for us, and I'm going to turn it over to Matt. I'm going to say one last thing and turn over to Matt. There's a question that popped up from Joy at DC about how you're using counseling in regards to social emotional needs of students. I think some of that sounds like it's happening through these conversations as they see need, that there's outreach and doing that. I don't know specifically if your guidance counselors are doing something, so feel free to share that. But Barbara, this question that Stephen asked about how different this should be than just replicating online learning, because the PCA has been experimenting with online learning, full online learning for years. How do you see these being different? If you just tackle that one, that would be great.
Well, one thing I'm hearing back from all levels at PCA is teachers are having, because of just how their day is scheduled, they can reach out to those kids that are struggling. It might be a group of 2 or 3. It might be just an individualized student, and an opportunity to look at whatever that content is in another way. So I think, that's one of the advantages. I think one real positive advantage, I'm being a technology person, but also, just a love for whatever we do, we have to do it really well to serve our kids. You have to have, in my opinion, a robust learning management system if this is something that you're going to do on a continual basis, a place to really house your content. And something about chunking those lessons. Don't just do a long video like you would do in the classroom, but you can chunk that content into small pieces, and then the student can review that many times. That's one of the opportunities. And in addition to that, you have so many tools like with Canvas that are integrated right into Canvas. So you have continuous formative assessment. That's a huge advantage because the student knows what they're mastering. And when it's designed well, the teacher knows also and can provide that feedback. So you don't have those times where a student really is really getting behind. So you have all those opportunities. And then all the tools where students actually are creators, they can utilize all of that and share it. Many times students that might not speak up in the classroom, they're much more likely to participate online. So when it's designed and structured really well, it can be very powerful.
Yeah, so I just wanted to end with this thought, and so thank you so much to our experts. Their contact information is in the Google Doc, and mine will pop up here in a minute, but I do want to give Matt the last word just to tell us what we're trying to do through the center and pray for us. But we're taking risks right now. And remember, Chip and Dan Heath in The Power of Moments remind us of this, and I share this almost every time I do professional learning with people. The power of taking risks is that we're going to learn. We just have to keep taking those opportunities to learn. We're not necessarily going to be successful all the time, and so we have to pivot from there. So just keep that in mind as you do this. Here's contact information for me, but it's also all in the Google Doc as well. I'm going to let Matt wrap us up, and it's been really great to be with you. So Matt, it's all yours.
Thanks, John. Thank you, everyone. And thank you to Case for hosting this and partnering with us today. I want to thank each of you for joining us. It's been an honor to spend this hour with you. If today's collective work has served you well, I'd like to make a personal invitation for you to join Baylor Center for Christian Education as we host weekly conversations that we're calling micro exchanges. These micro exchanges are just facilitated conversations between educational leaders who are sharing real-time ideas and investing in the work that they are doing with other schools and other leaders. It's a powerful 60 minutes that we're putting together in small groups. By virtue of you being on this today, I will be sending you information about how you can take advantage of the work that we're doing together. So please avail yourself to that when you see our invitation come in the mailbox or in your email. Let's close in a word of prayer. Lord, we come to you today in gratitude that you choose to use your servants in seasons of crisis. That you would entrust us to do your work is humbling. In light of this new reality, Lord, that we live in, may we be filled with courage and wisdom that comes from above. Please, Lord, use our experiences to further shape our vision of you building your kingdom through the work that we get to do. May we see these challenging times as opportunities for our deep gladness and the world's deep need to meet. May we be mindful of the needs of our students and their families, as well as our peers and colleagues. Lord, give us grace today to respond in mercy to those who need it most. And Father, grant us discernment and wisdom and understanding. Please shape us for your service. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.